Hi, this is John with Schubert Technologies doing one of my Legado flyovers from the project. So of course there's a few different groups taking part in this. The primary is that LB3 engineering, which is doing development. So if you haven't watched my videos before, I usually try to geolocate you by direction and what road we're next to. So we're currently going parallel to the existing Rouse Road to the left side there, and we are heading east. So we'd be heading away from the 215 because this is on the east side of the 215 between McCall and Ethanak Road. So this is where the existing road, Rouse Road, is going to connect. It's going to come up. So that's a east to west road, and it's going to skirt the bottom of that little foothill there. So they've done a lot of grading on that specific part, and my gimbal did a little hiccup there. It was pretty windy on this day. I think ordinarily I probably wouldn't have flown if I'd realized how windy it was at this altitude. But anyway, back on to point, you can see that they're starting to dramatically drop the elevation at this point to take that Rouse and connect it to what's now behind us, Antelope Road. So Antelope Road is more of a north to south, and it connects to McCall. So that will become a lot more frequented road. Right now, it's just people coming into these residential areas. There's not a lot of traffic that would be going anywhere else to, for example, get to Hemet. So right here, I kind of pause. I'm going to drop down. I was at about 125 feet above ground level, and you can see they've been breaking up rocks. So I live about a half mile away, and you can hear the pneumatic machine hammering away at those rocks, and then they've pulled them off to the side. And I'm also dropping just so you can kind of get a better view of the pitch or the elevation changes. And you get an idea also of how windy it is there with the little flag markers blowing in the breeze. So looking now back again to the east and going towards Antelope Road, you can see they're bringing it down quite a bit. It used to be a little bit higher. People used to like to go over there on their dirt bikes and then go up that little foothill there to the other side and back. So now we're looking back to the west again, Rouse Road. Just flying past me, I'm on the side of the road, observing just to make sure that there's no obstacles or threats nearby. So at this point, I'm just showing how they're going to connect. So this road is going to connect to a new road in the residential area. So there's going to be 3 access points from the north into the residence. So that was the first one here along the middle. That's an existing Sherman Road. So Sherman Road will intersect it, and that road's going from north to south. So now we're basically dead middle. So below us to the left is going to be 43 homes. To the right is going to be about 50 homes. So those 50 units will be right up against Rouse Road. Coming up a little bit farther, there's going to be 117 to the left and about 74 to the right. So that little cul-de-sac that you see just past that. So a little freeze frame added here. So there's a crew right there on the left side taking those rocks and spreading them out from the piles that you see in the middle. So I'll go into this later whenever I do notice it. Where you see the dirt have less steps in the elevation a little bit farther ahead, that's going to be a very large catch basin to catch the runoff and help manage stormwater during any bouts of rainfall that we may occasionally get. There in the northwest corner is the existing mortuary. So this is a landmark that's been there for a while. Most locals should be familiar with it. So because there's going to be an impact on traffic, obviously, part of this development is giving them more parking. So they've extended probably about, I'd say, 30 parking spots worth. So now we're looking back towards the north, rotating counterclockwise. And now we're going to start flying more towards the south side of the project, almost due middle. So below us is that section I said where there's going to be about 117 homes. And that to the left makes up the first phase. To the right of us is going to be more towards the third phase, over where all those vehicles are. So that should be towards the end of when this development, which is supposed to be sometime around 2024. I would suspect that might be closer to 2025. But they are projecting that somewhere around 2023, the first phase should start selling units, and possibly, depending on how permits go, people may start moving in by about that phase. So now we're due middle of the project, and we're still looking east. Top left on our screen, that's that road that connects. There's going to be a open space area right there. There's going to be a paseo, so it's supposed to be a walkway, so you can come up that road. It's Dawson Road, and you are going to have about 3 miles of walkways that you can take your dog for a walk or just go for a walk. There's supposed to be art and all sorts of visually stimulating decorations, things to enjoy. I don't know if there's going to be any workout equipment. Sometimes they like to put workout equipment along the trail. I haven't seen anything yet in the plans. Doesn't mean it was not there. Some of the plans have been revised, and I haven't obviously read every single thing on it. So now we're starting to rotate towards the south, and so we're on the southeast corner now. Southeast corner, there's going to be about 150 units, meaning homes, 150 homes where we're currently looking. So that's Antelope Road to the side, and Chambers Avenue is that street that's going from left to right in the middle part of your screen. So that's an existing, well, partially existing. So it's going to connect through. I noticed that they had some road closure signs that were up. All right, so we're looking back again towards the west. We're on the south edge. We have Chambers to our left, and we're coming up to the existing Sherman Road. Now dead middle in the screen right there, sort of catty corner to the school. That's going to be a catch basin, so something to manage the water runoff. So there's going to be about 3 catch basins total. The second one I didn't really mention. One was by the mortuary, one was by the school, and then the third one that I haven't mentioned is along Sherman Road. So, and another little gimbal there. So hopefully my drone is not starting to have issues. Don't want to have to send it in. All right, because the files are so big from long flights, and these are being flown at very high data rate, it automatically, once it hits about 5 gigs, truncates the file and creates a new file. So when you see it transition from video to video, that's what's happening. So if you have a DJI drone and you put it in a really high data format and you fly a longer flight, you'll have multiple files. So you can see the rocks there have pretty much stayed, but here in just a moment we should be able to see they've actually started to do some mitigation for water runoff. Now I believe we're supposed to get rain. It would be 3 days after this is filmed, 2 days now, because I'm doing this voiceover the next day. It's Sunday, November 6th. I flew this on the 5th. So I noticed that there was a lot of sandbag trucks going around, and what I later noticed is they're taking those rocks, and I'm thinking that first phase pretty much passed grading because they put a ton of rocks, pun intended, and sandbags. I later, as I was leaving, saw trucks of sandbags, and then the trucks unloaded. I saw like probably a few thousand sandbags that they had dropped off. So sandbags with these rocks are all along the first phase. So if it rains Tuesday or after Tuesday, then it should help, with that runoff, so it doesn't mess up what they've done. This is the commercial part of the project. So along Antelope Road, we're looking north. So Chambers is behind us, Rouse is ahead of us. This is supposed to be the commercial development. So there's an existing, elderly home or assisted living home. And so there's already commercial along this. And of course, you've got the mortuary there. So that's going to continue. Not the entire, actually, yeah, the entire whole west side is going to be commercial. And then you have a basin, which is going to be just right where that existing stormwater access is to the left that just went out of view until the mortuary is a little extended parking. And if you see where the dirt changes color there, I would guess that that's going to be partially, if not all, of their additional. So at this point, we should start seeing, see all those little piles of rocks? So what they're doing is they're going through, and I flew after this point, and you could see that those rocks are being spread out by the crew. So you can see the truck right there. So I didn't realize this when I was doing the flight. I saw it afterwards when I was reviewing that there's people walking around. Usually there's not people because there's so many large earth movers. As a matter of fact, even the trucks have little flags on them, just so guys driving the big trucks can very clearly see smaller vehicles around. But anyway, they were going through and they were arranging the rocks so that it was taking the water and channeling it in a direction and slowing it down. So between the sandbags and those rocks, it should help. So at this point, I'm basically done going over all of the project, and then I'm just going to go up to around 300, 350 feet above ground level and just kind of give more of a bird's eye view. I tried to avoid staying high because on this particular day there was a lot of aircraft that had been flying in the recent area. So I tried to stay well below, because occasionally they're supposed to stay 500 feet or above. Helicopters don't have to, but it just seems like lately there's been a lot of low-flying aircraft. Now the aircraft should be, like I said, 500 or above, but if they're at 500, I'm supposed to give them 200 feet per the FAA rules, and so that would mean I would have to stay at 300 or lower until they pass by safely. So that's part of the reason why your drone has to always be within visual view. You have to be able to physically see it with your own eyes. You can't rely on the camera, because if there's a drone or an aircraft coming behind me, I wouldn't see it. So this real quick is the Hallmark Talavera project. So you can see there's about 3 lots there, I think, that still have yet to be sold. And so every video that I put up with Legado, I put up in the comments this section. The basic information on the project itself. So the first one that we click on, or that I have a link to, will bring up, as soon as it comes up, all of the initial reports that they submitted to the city of Menifee. So it's all of the planning commission reviews and background recommendations, the plot plans. So I'm usually looking at this when I do the voiceover on the video. So Canto Drive to the west, Rouse to the north, and then there's a couple of streets here. That's Antelope there, and I can't remember this one. Actually, it'll be on one of these later maps here. So this is a lot of information. So when you ask me, hey, what about schools? What about sewer? What about, water runoff? What about electrical and all that stuff? So this is part of what has the answer to those questions. So you can see the paseos that they're building. You can see the parks. You can see the basins. So this is one location. Anything that's developed in the state of California is going to have impact surveys. So the second link that I go to, which takes you to the California website, has all of those reports on, okay, what about water supply? Well, here we go, water supply assessment. And it's going to kick into the municipal water district report on what's going to happen. And so when you click on a report, if you have PDF installed, can go through and you can read the report. So you can see that this is the impact in terms of the number of water, amount of water that's going to be used. And then public reviews. So people had a chance to comment when these plans were first submitted, notice of hearing. And so these are a couple of really easy locations to find information on this project. So you can find it all in there. Like, where's the energy going to come from? In this case, because they're brand new houses, they're going to be Title 24, so they're going to have their own solar. So at least half of the power that they use is going to be self-generated. So assuming these people move from an old home, they're going from 100% on the grid to 50% or less, depending on the builder. In my case, my builder didn't give me an option to expand my system. So at the end of 12 months, I ended up generating about 50% of my own power. And had I not moved into this house, then I would have used 100% off of the grid. So in the city of Menifee, there's also a citizen portal. So you can go in and you can look at building permits, engineering applications, and this current status of all the permitting. So when you first go into this, you don't really have to know anything. You can just type in the project name, Legado, hit search, and then you can search the engineering and you can search the planning. So this last week, I noticed that there was a lot of City of Menifee trucks or vehicles that were around this lot, and you could tell that the developer had a lot of, the project managers out on site because they were at corners overlooking what was going on as the inspection was taking place. And so I kind of had a feeling that there was probably something in here. So I noticed as I put a search in, and so these are all of the plans that they have in with the city. So some you can see are accepted, so they're good to go. Some they've asked for further input. Some it's approved, but they have to pay for it. And if we look at page 2, I'll notice that's the sewer. So my guess is, because one of the first things that has to go in is sewer. They probably would come in and they were looking at grading, and then they were looking at where the sewer lines are going to go. And so I have a feeling that they found something. They want something changed in the plan. Maybe the sewer was slightly different because, no plan survives first contact with reality. So maybe they had to do something slightly different. But anyway, so those are the 3 resources, 2 of which I linked to. The third one, you could just go to Google, type in Menifee Building Department, building permit, and it's going to want you to sign in. This is the citizen portal. You can see you're logged in as me. So you do have to be logged in. So like for my house, I put in a patio, and so I had to pull permit, and I did. And then I had a final inspection where they passed it. Anyway, so just thought I would point those out since I always get those questions.
And as always, thanks for watching. Appreciate your time. Thanks for dropping by. Please sure to like and subscribe.